It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 84 today. We've been waiting all week for this time for you to come back. 167 hours we've been waiting on pins and needles, and now here you are, ready to enjoy this next hour of clothes-free living for all of the right reasons together. We value this time together, we look forward to it, and we are glad that you are here. By the way, if you'd like to reach out to us, and we know that you do, you can email us at nakedforevermore@gmail.com. We are also on Twitter. We are on Blue Sky, and you can hit up our Patreon page, become a member there, but you can also contact us there as well. And, of course, our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com. But definitely come on in. The pool is fine. The hot tub is fired up. The grill is going full bore. Fruits and vegetables off to the right. Cold drinks off to the left. Hot drinks, desserts inside. Cigar bar in the back left corner of the pool. We have it all today. It's still a little bit on the chilly side. It's not blazing hot, but it's still warm enough to get your clothes off and enjoy the outside, the sun on your skin, the wind on your skin, and just have a great hour together as we celebrate, once again, clothes-free living for all of the right reasons. Well, on today's show, we will have an extended segment with Lisa Monroe. Looking forward to that. She'll be here in just a moment, we hope. I'm about to start the music, so she'll come bursting through the door at any moment. And then we'll have part two of my interview with CYNDI TENDICK, one of the managing partners for the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona. And she's also the current president for the West region of the American Association for Nude Recreation. So part two today with CYNDI TENDICK. And yes, Lisa Monroe just walked in, so let's get to it. You hear music in the background, right? I think I hear some. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the wildly over-the-top, completely clothes-free, fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. And here she is, the one and only, the completely over-the-top, 100% clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing really well. Yeah, we're into 2025 and it's starting off pretty darn nice. So this is pretty good.
Not only are we into 2025, but I don't know how this happened. We are now into February of 2025. Where in the world did the time go?
It was a fun January, wasn't it?
And December and November.
Exactly. I have no idea. I mean, I look at the episode numbers on the show and go, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Because it feels like just not that long ago when we were sitting going, okay, what do we do on the first show? What's going to happen? Oh my God, is anybody going to listen? You know, and those kind of things. And suddenly we're at episode 84 and I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah, well, even I think back to last summer, let's say July, I vividly remember what we did on the show, and it seems like a week or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was 6-7 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now into February of 2025, and enjoying life, clothes-free as often as possible. You get chilly quicker than I do, so I'm probably clothes-free more than you.
Yes.
But please tell us you have some clothes-free moments in your life, even during the winter.
Of course, I have some clothes-free moments in my life. And when I lived in a colder environment, let me just say that the little thermostat might have been set somewhere around 80 in the house. So, because that was the only way I could survive and still, be run around being naked and enjoying it.
Yeah.
I do probably throw on a t-shirt or a robe more than you do, but
yeah.
That's just
I was in this, I had to do some work out of town some years ago when I rented a condo because I was going to be there for a little bit. And I'm not a fan of cold. And I was in a very hot climate, very hot environment. And there was a Sunday where I just didn't put the air conditioning on and I felt great. And then some friends came over. They walked in and they said, "What is going on in this place?" I said, what's the problem?" They said, "It's ridiculously hot." I said, "No, it's fine. It seems normal to me." And they went to check the thermostat, and it was 92 degrees inside, which is hotter than 92 outside
Yes.
because you don't have the airflow. And I thought it was totally fine. They thought I was, needed some kind of medical attention right away. But no, it's great. But it's just, each person is different. Each person's body is different. The chemistry is different. So we just do what we do and make it work, right?
Absolutely. And I prefer no air conditioning, but I also prefer low humidity.
Well, yeah,
So in the summer here in Florida, you can't really get by without AC to dry the air out. So I
that's
keep it
true.
as low as possible and still have the humidity down. But if
Mhm.
I had my way, man, and have a ceiling fan on, the doors open, no AC on, just run around naked and sip iced tea to cool off. Because I just don't like the cold. It's
No,
funny because, the people will laugh sometimes because they'll say I'm cold, and
mhm.
then I touch them and they realize my fingers are like ice and it's 85 outside. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I don't do well.
yeah. Well, I once mentioned that to my doctor, and he said, "I don't know what to tell you. There's no metabolic reason as to why you're cold all the time. He
Mhm.
goes, you're in perfect health. I can show you the numbers again. There is no explanation for it other than people are different." He said, "Have you ever seen those old lady grandmothers sitting in rocking chairs with shawls, a shawl
Mhm.
around their shoulders?" I said, "Well, yeah." He goes, "Well, that's going to be you." And I said, "Oh, thanks, thanks."
I'll start
So,
knitting one
yeah.
now for you.
Well, he suggested I go buy one that day. He goes, "That'll solve your problem." He goes, "But scientifically, medically, there is no resolution. You are who you are. So make the best of it. If you need a shawl, go get one." That way, if I did, and I knew him reasonably well, he lived down the street from me. I thought, if you were, in fact, I think I said, if you weren't my neighbor, we would have to step outside and settle this.
I love it. I love it.
But it did ended the discussion, which I think was his goal. Like, quit
Yeah.
complaining about this. Nothing can be done. Put on 10 shirts if you have
Yeah.
to, but quit complaining. So I did until
No,
now.
you did. I was gonna say, no, you didn't quit complaining, but that's okay.
Yeah.
You complain like I do. I keep
Yeah.
an Afghan with me,
Yeah.
watch TV, it's 105 outside, no big deal. Afghan goes on. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
All right. Well, let's get to our Patreon people. We have a couple of more names this week. Lisa, take it from there.
Two new names to add to the growing list, which is just really a wonderful thing, is Will. And I hope I'm saying this correctly, but it's either Bobbio or Bobio. So, whichever it is, we thank you very much for your support.
Very much so. And we have a number of patrons who have signed up who say, please don't use my name or any iteration thereof, not a screen name, not anything. Just consider me to be an anonymous patron. And so we're doing that. And those we announce in the order in which they signed up. So if you're waiting for your name, it's coming. If you were the 50th person to sign up, there'll be 49 announced before you. Don't take it personally. And yes, we thank Will and Bobbio. We'll call him. We thank you very much for that. And you can sign up today. Just go to patreon.com. The link is on our website. It's also in our show notes right at the very top of the page. You can just click there and sign up. And before you know it, you're a patron. How are we doing on merchandise other than you're having trouble keeping the shelves stocked? But that's a good problem to have. We don't mind that.
It's
Anything
an
else?
excellent problem to have. And once again, those caps are really popular, as are the
Mm.
coffee mugs. So we're really happy to see that and some t-shirts going so things are good. And we've been taking a look at some other things to add to see if, there's some other things coming for upcoming summer that'll be good. So keep an eye out for new stuff coming down the road.
All right. I wanted to, before we move on to today's content, we talked last week about if the moment you make an excuse is the moment you lose in whatever you're doing in life. There are reasons sometimes, but not excuse. So the sun got in my eyes, the dog ate it, whatever. That's an excuse, and you've just lost. And I was thinking, think of some of the big winners of all time. And in the NBA, National Basketball Association, which is now a worldwide league in terms of participation, I always think of Michael Jordan as the big winner. I mean, he won all those championships and he was just an amazing player. I never heard him make an excuse. I never heard him say, I would have made that last shot and we would have won the game if the cameraman hadn't taken a picture of that moment and the flash, flashed in my eyes. So it's all his fault. He never said that. He would say, I missed the last shot, and that's never going to happen again because I'm starting tomorrow. I'm going to fire up 10,000 shots a day. He always found reasons to get better if something didn't work out because as big as he won, he didn't win in the early years of his career. He was a great player, but the team didn't win championships. And he was upset, like, hey, you got to be kidding me. I am here to win, and we didn't win. We got to make some changes. No excuses. No, well, the point guard is too slow. The center is not tall enough. No, we're going to make this work. And they did. So if you look at the big winners of life, he would be one, other athletes and musicians as well. No excuses. Just get out there, do what you have to do. If it didn't work out, retool, do it again, and make it as great as you can, right?
Absolutely. And, years ago, my CPA at the time was probably one of the top CPAs in the city that I happened to live in at the time. And he had a private bathroom. We'd go for a conference. And I went to his private bathroom a couple of times, and he had this sign on the wall that said, "'Tweren't no business got here that weren't went after." And that has stuck with me, I guess, from that moment, because he came from nowhere, went to college, got a CPA, opened this firm, and became the biggest one in the community.
Wow.
And the best, probably. And I think he lives that adage. Now, he also had a statue of a man and woman naked and entwined and said he won that in college. but nothing got here that went after. I absolutely love, because it's true. You go after what you want. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be the best, then you have to make yourself the best.
Yeah. I was thinking of some musicians like Yo-Yo Ma, a world famous cello player.
Love him.
James Galway on flute, and we can go on forever. You can go into rock and roll and pop too. But I never heard Yo-Yo Ma. First of all, I've never heard him play a bad note. But if he were to play a bad note, I don't think he would say, well, I blew a few notes there because I had a bad ham sandwich before the concert, or I was watching Netflix and I didn't get as much sleep as usual. No, those people plan to be successful. Okay, I have a show tomorrow, a concert at 2:00. I'm playing a cello solo. I need to get the proper rest. I need to have the proper nutrition. I need to be 2 p.m. when those lights go on, the curtains open. I got to be on my A game. And they always are. They don't make excuses because they always win. And again, I think we should put this on our banner. The moment you make an excuse is the moment you lose. I wish I could find a way to rhyme that, but we'll work on that. How's that sound?
Yeah, I'm not a poet, so I'm not sure I can help you there.
Okay.
But I agree. I think it's a mindset and an attitude. And, it's one thing to go through life. You pretty much have to set goals for yourself and set expectations for yourself. I don't expect other people to do what I do. I expect me to do what I do.
Oh, right. Yeah. Exactly.
And, a lot of people just, don't either have the interest or the concerns, or they actually do think they're so busy they can't accomplish things because they can't figure out how to prioritize or, what means something important. So I don't know. It's who we are and who we've always been. And this show is just a reflection of that same attitude that we've taken in other endeavors.
And all of that came from people asking us, how in the world do every single Saturday morning, 6:00 a.m. Eastern time, you guys turn out a 1-hour show, not a 2-minute show or an 8-hour show, but 1 minute, 1 hour to the minute every single Saturday without fail? Well, that's why we answered the question.
Absolutely.
Because we got enough emails about it, and that we don't make excuses. We decide what to do, we plan it out, and then we do it. And 6:00 a.m. Eastern time, boom, there it is. Kind of like that old song, that old rap tune. There it is.
Love that song. Brings back memories. Anyway,
that should be the theme song for our show. Oh, yes, there it is.
Yes, there you go. I like that. I like that a lot.
And that concludes the singing portion of the show. Just in case people are waiting for more. No, that's it. I overstepped my bounds there. But anyway, we're having fun. We got a few questions about the American Association for Nude Recreation region presidents. As you know, today, coming up in just a few moments, is part two of my interview with CYNDI TENDICK. She is the president of the West region for the American Association for Nude Recreation, also one of the managing partners of the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona. And there are 7 regions. We've had 4 presidents on now, including CYNDI. We've had Dan from Southwest. We've had Andy from Northwest. We've had Joe from Florida. And as I mentioned, CYNDI last week and this week. And we reached out to the other 3. And if they are listening, get in contact with us. We'd love to have you on and promote your region as well. And I've really enjoyed these conversations with these region presidents, as well as with Linda Weber, and just how devoted they are to the whole cause, not only of AANR, but naturism, nudism, close-free living in general. And I'm guessing you feel the same.
I certainly do. These have been very interesting interviews because it shows the diversity of the people who are involved. It also shows their need to bring this message of this naturism philosophy to people who don't know it. And one thing that we found is that, our listeners, for the most part, are people who are kind of outside of this core community that talks to each other all the time. And they seem to be, just a home naturist here, or or someone who only occasionally goes to a resort, but who enjoys this being nude and feeling this commune with nature. So by these people coming on, this kind of not only is ANR a national organization, but this brings it back down to the areas where people live, and so that they start to identify with the fact that, wow, there are other naturists in my area. That person only lives not too far from me, or that resort's only close by, and I didn't know ANR supported that resort. And that support from ANR in these resorts is extremely important, because that tells you that these are family friendly organizations that are definitely upholding what we think naturism is.
Yeah, and if you live in the state of Washington, you know that the AANR office is in Florida. You might think, well, that's a gazillion miles away, or even better, Alaska. You live in Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
AANR office is in Florida. Why would I ever join AANR? It's way too far away. Well, you have your own region, the Northwest region. Andy Rogers leads that right now. And so it's great that they put these regions out there around the country. So wherever you are, you have reasonable access to a region. Now, it still might be a bit of a drive if you want to visit the office, but there are people in your region to help you. And we definitely want to thank the 4 presidents who have been on so far. And hopefully the other 3 will come on. We'll get them out and talk about what they do and what they do in their regions. And each region, while overall kind of sort of the same because they're under the AANR umbrella, there are slight nuances. But there have to be. The weather is different, the people are different, the air is different, the temperature is different, right?
Exactly. And so that's the one thing we've heard a lot of people say, I live in this community, I don't know where to go, I don't know what events are there. And so we can help bring that information to them, and especially by telling them who they can contact in order to find out what things are going on.
Yeah.
And maybe they have an idea about a great event. They need to contact the president of a region and say, hey, I'd love to do this at this park. And I've talked to someone and they said, well, we could probably do that. And guess what? That's how things happen, and that's how people become involved.
And yes, we get a lot of listeners from AANR. There's no question about it. We get a lot of listeners from other organizations as well, the Naturist Foundation, Canadian Naturist, the International Naturism Federation, whatever that is called. We get listeners from all over the world. But we also, as you mentioned at the very beginning of your statement, we get listeners who are not affiliated with anybody. They're just sitting home, love to live clothes free, feels kind of weird because I've always been told you have to have clothes on, listening to our show, and they've written in. So this is actually normal, is what we've gotten from a lot of listeners. Yes, it is. And it's one of our big tenets around here. We're not trying to normalize clothes-free living. We're trying to remind people and or teach people that it already is normal as a society, as a people. We made it abnormal by putting clothes on, which is the actual abnormal thing. And proof of that is you're born clothes free. If you're born with a tuxedo on or an evening gown or whatever, that'd be different. We're born clothes free. And because of that, that's what makes it normal. And so we're just trying to remind people of that, right?
Yes, and I think that validation is what a lot of people need. They need to know that they're not abnormal. They need to know that the fact that they like to walk in their house and rip off their clothes and do their chores or whatever they're planning on doing in a natural state, then that's okay. And a lot of people feel like they're hiding inside and, oh, because if anybody found out, they'll be, they'll hate me. They'll
Hmm.
think I'm nuts. The trouble is, no, we don't. There's a lot of us out there who are that way. And I still believe that there are more home naturists than we have any idea about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seeing some of the responses that we've gotten from the show, we're reaching some of those people.
Yeah, we certainly are because we hear from them all of the time. And we never encourage people to be exhibitionists. That
No.
is not what we are. We don't promote that. That's not what AANR promotes.
Mm.
It's not about ripping your clothes off and running down the street, with a megaphone saying, "Hey, everybody, look at me. I'm naked and check out this part and that part. Aren't I cool?" No, you're not. You are not cool if you do that. And we also don't recommend or support in any way the swinging lifestyle. That is totally foreign to the whole concept of clothes-free living. Naturism, nudism, clothes-free living is all about getting back to what you're all about as a human being. And if there are two or more in the same room, now you have two people with no trappings, no fancy suits, no evening gowns, no, well, you might have some makeup, but very little jewelry if you're a woman, I guess. But for the most part, it's just you and it's just him and it's just her having some coffee and enjoying the day. And even if you're by yourself, same thing. You don't have the restraints of walking through your kitchen, walking to your living room with clothes on. It just feels better. You feel more alive, don't you?
It certainly does. And it's just a freeing kind of mind opening experience in a lot of ways. And we could make it sound so very existential or whatever. It's just the fact is it just feels good.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
it. It just feels good.
Yeah, it really does. And when you get back to the basics of life, the basics of living, that's about as basic as it gets. Clothes free living for all the right reasons, as we like to say. And when did you discover this again? It was in adulthood, right?
Yes, it was an adulthood. It all came out of sunbathing, which is probably why I chose that for being one of our Patreon levels because um, I just couldn't stand tan lines, and so the only way I knew to not have tan lines was not to have clothes, and so it kind of started with a like-minded group of people in college, and we hung out on the roof of the dorm and stripped down, and no one could see us, and everybody used to go, "Oh my gosh, you have the best tan." Yes, we do. and and so that and I had always been someone though who didn't really care about clothes and was probably more comfortable in as few clothes as I could have, but I also grew up in the South where it was warm enough that I could do that.
Well, I remember it wasn't too long after we met. You had moved to somewhere, let's just say in the middle of the country,
Mm-hmm.
in a land that was sparsely populated. You could walk out of your house and nobody would even know you were there. And I encouraged you just take your clothes off and walk outside. And you thought I was crazy, like I can't do that. What if somebody comes by? And I said, "When's the last time somebody came by?" And you said, "Well, never." I said, "Well, there you go." And it took a while. You didn't do it right away, but eventually you did. And you said, that was, I forget your exact words, but basically that was the greatest feeling ever. I feel very alive. And do you remember that moment when you first stepped out there?
I remember that moment extremely well.
Yeah.
In fact, I thought, okay, there's nobody around. Let me just walk outside. I had a robe on, and I thought, okay, let me just try this
Yeah.
because I was used to being, sunbathing didn't bother me, but this was a completely different environment.
Right. Right.
And so opened the robe and thought, oh, never mind. And took the robe off and never put it back on
Yeah.
because there was that momentary first breeze that hit that's just something I want to use the word spiritual, but there is a connection that all of a sudden you realize that you're kind of one with your environment and it just felt good.
Yeah.
And so then I walked around all the time.
That's right. Well,
There's
you might have been spotted by a couple of birds or squirrels, like,
yeah.
and they saw you, like, "Hey, she's finally one of us. She's clothes free." And so you made the
Yes.
squirrels and birds happy that day.
Yes, very much so. They didn't run, which is, phew, thank goodness. You never know. I don't want to scare the little creatures, but
yeah, well, squirrels and birds are understanding about body image
Yes.
issues as well, so they're
Yes.
not going to make fun of anybody like, look
This
at
is
that
true.
nude chick
Thank
over there. No, they were happy you joined them.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right, with that, Lisa Monroe, let's head for the hills. Go out there and have a great close-free week. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely, you too. And wow, let's see how quickly we can get through February. Because we're
fast.
Getting there.
All right.
All right, guys.
Week.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
The very terrific Lisa Monroe comes in once a week for these segments. Also does all of our website work, our meme work for Twitter on Thursdays, runs our Patreon page. She does it all around here. We thank Lisa Monroe for all of her time today, as well as the other 6 days of the week. How about that? Just a reminder, we are the official podcast for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, that is absolutely great. But if not, you can become a member within moments. Just go to AANR.com, follow the navigation, and just like that, and just like Lisa Monroe and myself, you will be a fully blown member of AANR today. How's that for a deal? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 84 today. We thank you for being with us. We look forward to this time all week long. We are glad that you are here enjoying clothes-free living for all of the right reasons for at least an hour a week together. It's very important to us, and we know that it is to you as well. Well, let's get to part 2 now of my interview with CYNDI TENDICK. She is one of the managing partners for the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona, and she's also the current president for the West Region for the American Association for Nude Recreation. Part 2 with the terrific CYNDI TENDICK. We are talking to CYNDI TENDICK this morning. She's one of the managing partners for the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona. She's also the president of the American Association for Nude Recreation, the West Region. And CYNDI, let's talk a little bit about AANR West, if you're okay with that. As I recall, you have 8 states, and Hawaii, California, Arizona, New Mexico, but Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming. But don't you also have a part of Mexico?
We do have a small part of Mexico. Yeah, absolutely. And Mexico has been becoming more of an outreach for us. So part of Mexico belongs to our region. The other part belongs to the Southwest. Just geographically, that's where it's kind of broken up. Even though the part of Mexico that we've kind of found a little in with is technically part of the Southwest, but hey, we're all here for the same cause, and wants a few regional boundaries here and there. I'm just kidding. Southwest is great. I've talked to them. But again, we're all here for the same cause, and it's good. We have found quite a few resorts down over in the Mexico region, in that Gulf Coast area, that are clothing optional. And people seem to be able to get it. They get this idea in their head that, well, if I go on a vacation in a different country, then I can be nude, whether they're nudists at home or whether they've never tried it before. They go down there and they think, well, I'm not going to run into Sally from accounting over there. So, hey, why I can do it there, versus they may be scared to do it here when they're at home in their normal environment.
Sure.
And we found quite a few down there. And I've had one of my directors has gone down to a couple clubs down there, and they actually they sit around the pool and talk to people and say, no, we go to, we're from California and we go out to Laguna, or we go out to Glen Eden. We're AANR members, and they're, it's that same continuation. And then you talk to another couple and they go, oh no, we live an hour from here down in Mexico. And then it starts this whole snowball effect where it's, well, when you guys come to the States, give us a call and, come stay with us, or we can get you to another club that, would fit you and see what you like to do. So there's been a pretty positive outcome from Mexico lately. And we're just looking to continue to build on that relationship, because again, it's just trying to increase the awareness and acceptance, and letting everybody know that this is a thing and it's not just a weekend thing. There are people that live like this all day, every day. It's not just a vacation style. So that's something that a lot of people are kind of surprised about sometimes.
Now, you have in your region quite a wide variety of weather going on. I mean, you have Utah and Wyoming, but you also have Hawaii. Any issues with that, or it's just people are people and clothes are coming off when they come off, or anything unique about that from Hawaii all the way up to Utah and Wyoming?
Yeah, it is different. We are very, geographically diverse in our region, to your point. Hawaii, obviously, it's sunny and 75 there all the time, year round. Just kidding. I know I'm going to get my regional secretary used to live in Hawaii. He's going to correct me on that
Oh,
one, but I mean
sure.
that's what everybody thinks anyway. Well, it's just like
Yeah,
I said when we started, it's we're nudists, but we're not stupid. If it's cold, we put clothes on.
right,
So it's
right.
just I think people adapt, especially up in Colorado. You just kind of adapt. You take the benefit of the good weather when you can have it, and then when it's not so great or it's a little bit chilly, you just kind of you do more inside things. You work on the puzzles and the projects and the painting and whatnot, rather than being outside and soaking up the sun. Again, it's just adapting and figuring out those ways and what works for everybody. What works here in Arizona for
Yeah,
us doesn't necessarily work in California. And that's, activity wise, weather wise, anything like that. It is diverse. But that's also the great thing about nude recreation is that we have I want to say over 100 resorts across the country. Out of
wow.
those, no two of them are alike, whether it's from their
Mhm.
business model, their design layout, their amenities, anything like that. Every single one is different, just like every single person here is different. But that's the
Yeah,
great thing is that it gives you the ability to say, hey, even if we weren't what you thought we were going to be, or, your experience here wasn't the greatest, it may be a little different somewhere else just because the vibe of everything is different. All the amenities are a little different. The people, although I tell you again, every single set or every single nudist resort that I have been to, it's always about the people. But even with that said, the people in California are different than the people in Colorado. The people in New Mexico are different than the people in Hawaii. But at the end of it, they're all
mhm.
so friendly, welcoming, accepting, want everybody to have a good time. And that's that common thread that brings it all together.
That's amazing how that works. And I've had a lot of people tell me, especially women, but men too. Women just seem to have cornered the market on this. When it's cold, cold as in a little cool. Now, if it's 0 degrees and it's snowing, that's a different ballgame altogether. But if it gets a little chilly, as long as their shoulders are covered up, they can stay warm. And I've tried that before outside. Like I'll just cover my shoulders up, even though it's a dumb idea, but it actually works. And so you can still be clothes free as long as your shoulders are covered up. I don't know what the science is behind that. I'm not a medically trained person, but maybe a suggestion to try, Cindy. How about that?
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that before, but it's definitely something. I think I might have heard that once or twice along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes no
Yeah.
sense to me, but if it works, it works. And it does work. I've tried it before.
Yeah.
As I recall, you're finishing up the second of the available 2-year terms as president of AANR West. Is that right? You're done later this summer in 2025.
That is correct. Yes, I am coming to the end of my second 2-year term. And it's been great. I've been involved in Anner West in some elected capacity for, oh boy, I would say about 10 years now. I started as a director, and then I took a position as vice president, and then I did some treasury work for a bit, and then just recently, the past 3 almost 4 years by the time I'm done, stepped into that president role. So yeah, I've been involved with it. Looking at maybe taking a year off or so, still being
Mm,
involved, obviously,
yeah.
but not have an official title. And I'm okay with that. I really am. It'll be nice to, kind of pass the torch. It's interesting for me to say that, and I'm sure for some people to hear me say that because it's like you're too young to pass the torch. No, I'm not. But it's it is nice because we need to have that continued sense of passing things along and to get more people involved. And even I've known people that have been involved in nudism for 20 years, but because of their job or because of anything they may not have had the time to commit to serving, on a regional board or working on a committee or doing
Mhm.
anything like that. And now they find themselves in a position where they want, number one, they want the connection and to be part of something bigger than themselves, which I think everybody that's a nudist is part of that. But some people want to take it a little bit further, and so there's opportunity out there, and I hope that everybody takes that. But I have really enjoyed serving the Western region, the clubs, being a point of contact, listening. We have had some contention within the past couple of years, and especially in California, we've lost a couple of clubs. They've gone textile, which is always unfortunate, very, very unfortunate, especially when they're landed clubs. And like I said, in the past year, I will say about past 18 months, we've lost two of them. And they've been pretty big blows, and it's unfortunate. And I don't want to say it's not providing the right resources to help them, because again, everybody is an independent, everybody's got their own business model. But it's unfortunate that they don't see the value the way that we do, or that I would like to say that I do. And being able to share that with them and prove and have them jump on that and know that this is a sustainable business model, and there is potential out there. I just went to a conference end of last year, and it had nothing to do with nude recreation or naturism or anything to that effect. It was all about the RV and hospitality industry and the extreme growth that is seeing. Even just in the past couple of weeks, I've gotten emails that have said that industry, again, take nude recreation out of it, just go back to camping, outdoor, RVing, that sort of thing, has grown something like 300% in the last 3 to 4 years. Now, I'm sure COVID had something to do with that, but that's a big jump for people to not have experienced anything like that before. And then all of a sudden now this is their go-to, between buying an RV or going to a national park or anything to that effect. It is that whole situation. The industry is on the rise. And so it's just unfortunate that we can't, or we haven't been able to figure out how do we jump on that and make nude recreation on the rise too. I know we're working on some great things through marketing and whatnot, and excited to see the success of those. So hopefully we can ride off of some coattails and, no pun intended. Okay, maybe a little. And see how we can help ourselves here too with some other stuff going on in the world.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned owning a nudist club is a sustainable business, which you prove. You prove it every day, year after year. You started, I think you said 25 years ago yourselves, and you're still going strong, as are other clubs. So it can be done, and it's often done. Now, as I recall, your mother was also the president of AANR West, and she's currently the vice president of overall AANR.
Yeah.
Is this something that's in the DNA of your family? You have to grow up nudist? You have to take a role with AANR? Is that just kind of part of the deal of being in the CYNDI TENDICK family?
Yep, that's exactly what happened. I came out and it was like, nope, here's your stamp. Here's your timeline right on your arm. This is what you're going to do. No, not necessarily. I've got an older brother and an older sister. Both of them have served on the AANR Western board previously. My sister works here in the office with us. My brother, he works not in the business on a day-to-day basis, but he does. He was out here for the holidays. He comes out with his girlfriend, so it is part of that. It is part of our, I guess, being a nudist is part of our DNA. I'll say that. But service to the community through AANR and AANR West, those are a couple of things that we, I guess you could say those are also in our DNA, because it's definitely something that we've all done, and it's something that we enjoy doing. My grandfather was the one who got into AANR back when it was WSA or ASA, and it was just, again, being part of that community, being part of something bigger than yourself, and furthering what you're all trying to do, working together one way or another, or at one time or another. That's something that was always kind of ingrained in us, as not just as nudists, but as people. We're very active outside of the ranch. We're extremely active in our community. We're heavily involved in our local Kiwanis group. We volunteer at our local football stadium. We do road cleanups. We sponsor families during the holidays for meals and gifts. We volunteer at our local church. We, make donations to our fire department and our fire district. We have a great working relationship with them. So yes, it is in our DNA, and it's not just in the nudist DNA. It's in our DNA just to be connected and continue to give beyond ourselves. That's something that we strive to do daily. So yeah, we
Yeah.
will always be a part of AANR West and AANR, because it's just something that's important to us. We believe that that's what we're here for, is to help support the greater good and be part of the bigger community.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I often say on the show, I've never seen an angry nudist. They might get mildly ticked off for a moment, but if you have your clothes on, not that we drive around naked, but let's say we're all driving around with our clothes on, which is normal. Somebody cuts you off, you give sign language out the window, you have a few choice words. I have a feeling if everybody drove clothes free, get cut off, hey, no problem, buddy.
Yeah.
It just, nudists seem to be friendlier, happier people overall, don't they?
I can definitely agree. You drive around here in a golf cart.
Yeah.
Again, it takes me 10 minutes to get to work, and I live a quarter mile away. Everybody always wants to stop and say hi and, hey, what are you drinking today?
Right.
And how's the coffee? And, hey, were you at the dance on Saturday night? Did you see that so-and-so was there? It was so good to see them again. It's just that easygoing social catching up on a constant basis, and just being connected is what's always great about it. But I agree. I mean, it's hard to be upset when you don't have anywhere to be or anything to do or anything to think about most of the time. There's a phrase that we use around here, and I hope that nobody takes offense to it. I can say it because it's in relation to my club, but quite a few years ago, a member of ours, there was a dispute over a volleyball game in the pool, and one lady finally stood up and she goes, "Hey, knock it off! After all, you're naked in a trailer park. What do you need?" And so when things get a little sticky around here, sometimes we always look at them, go, "You're naked in a trailer park. Knock it off."
This is as good as life is going to get. Yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
absolutely. Yeah, that's why I've said I've never seen an angry nudist. I'm sure they exist and they're probably out there. I just haven't seen any myself. But it's great to hear you're doing great work. And, instead of passing the torch, I think I know you well enough, CYNDI TENDICK. You're just taking a break from the torch. And at some point, you'll pick it up again. Is that fairly reasonable to assume that?
Most definitely very
Yeah.
reasonable to assume. Yeah. Like I said, I'll still always be involved, but the arm's getting a little tired. So if somebody else could carry
Yeah.
it for a bit, then we'll work on that.
Yeah. Well, we all need a break. Now, it sounds as though you grew up clothes free, a clothes free family living. That's how you grew up and were raised.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we moved here when I was 5, and for the first,
Mm.
I would say about 4 years, we lived on the ranch. Right after that, we moved just outside the ranch, just because we had the opportunity to kind of expand the area that we had, and so went through that. But yeah, it's how I was raised. I mean, I've been working here since I was probably about 10. On a day to day, and even before that, I used to get a penny. We used to have paper newsletters, if you could believe it or not, and we would get them from the printer, and then we would have to fold them in half, because
Mhm.
even though they didn't have pictures in it, they had some implied photos and whatnot. You couldn't send those through the mail without having them covered. And also back then, you're talking late 90s, early 2000s, people didn't want other people to know that they were coming to a nudist resort, that they were getting information from it. So we would take the paper, we
Mm.
would fold it in half, and then we'd put a little piece of tape over it. I got a penny a piece for those things. It was great. When I did 500 of them,
Wow.
hey, I got $5. Let me go buy some candy now. Um, and then it kind of grows from there. We've got a small cafe. I grew up working in there. That kind of really fed my passion for, number one, cooking, and also service to people. Just getting to know people and allowing, hey, let me take care of that for you, and going through. And so that's really where I found my place. And that just kind of grew into what it is today. But yeah, I mean, I was raised here. I grew up on Saturday nights going to dances and learning how to line dance and going to karaoke and fixing water pipes and all of it, all while not wearing clothes. It was great. I mean, I did go to school,
Yeah.
and so obviously, like, reasonable, get dressed for that and come home. And, I mean, again, back then, not a lot of people had a pool in their backyard, and I was one of the lucky ones. So, and to me,
Yeah.
taking the clothes off was never a factor of it. It was just, that was just how it was and what you did. It was never oh,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. No, that's not cool. So, yeah, it's how we were raised and how we all live now.
Normal and natural. I give your parents tremendous credit for teaching you the value of hard work and earning a living right out of the gate. You want some candy, Cindy? Here you go. Here's some newsletters. Let's get busy. A
Yep,
big deal, isn't it? It really
absolutely.
is.
No, I mean, it's just like you say, those are some values that were taught, from the very beginning for us. And I'm happy for that. I'm happy for that experience and knowing where things come from and how they all work.
Yeah. Now, one of the overriding philosophies of the American Association for Nude Recreation, AANR, as some people call it, and it's on your website with AANR West, families and naturism. And it says the naturist movement has always been family centric. It's not uncommon to find several generations of families who have lived in this lifestyle. And that's really important to point out, especially for people just listening, just diving in, maybe a little curious about this nudism, naturism thing. That's why we always say clothes free living for all the right reasons. This is not wild party time and swinger time and all that nonsense, is it?
Not at all. Not at all.
Right.
We have a saying around here. We adopted it a few years ago. People would always call and they would say, "Well, what are your rules?" Okay, well, what do you mean? What are our rules? And so we sat down one day and we really broke them down. I mean, we've got obviously safety things that don't speed and watch out for cars. Some of those kind of basic ones. But when we sat down and figured out, okay, what are people really trying to ask? We came up with two very, what we like to call two very simple rules. They're not our only two, but they're probably our most important and probably the easiest that you can follow. So, number one, all nudists know this. Make sure you've always got a towel with you. You've always got to sit on something between you and your bare body at all times, whether that's a pair of shorts, whether that's a towel, whether that's a sarong, a swim cover up, anything like that. Just make sure you're sitting on something at all times. And number two, we always like to say, if you wouldn't do it in front of grandma, your parents, or a child, yours or somebody else's, don't do it here. And
There you go.
occasionally, I mean, that kind of covers all the bases. It covers the whole, we're not here, we're not having crazy parties, we're not a bunch of heathens just running around, running amok, going crazy all the time. That really kind of covers that. Now, we do get the occasional person that says, well, I'm not comfortable being naked in front of a child. I'm like, well, that's your choice.
Right.
But let's not take it literally. And why are you uncomfortable being naked in front of a child, but not in front of somebody else? Because if you are, then maybe this isn't the place for you,
Right.
because you may be here for the wrong reasons. So, and they're like, oh, no, that's not what I meant. I just want them to, I don't want them to be uncomfortable. I'm like, well, they're here already. So,
Yeah.
no, they're not the ones that are going to be uncomfortable.
It's very well said, and I appreciate that very much. We're talking to CYNDI TENDICK, one of the managing partners of the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona, also the current president for AANR
Mhm.
West. And Cindy, I have as the website for AANR West, it's very easy to remember, AANRWest.org. Is that correct?
That is correct. Absolutely.
All right. So if people want to reach you or your office or find out what's going on, AANRWest.org is the way to go. Now let's turn back a little bit to the Shangri La Ranch. I was looking at your weekly activities, and I think I needed a nap after just reading through the weekly activities. You keep people really busy if they want to be. Pickleball, water aerobic. Well, first of all, pickleball every day at 7 a.m.
Pickleball every day. I think this time of year, I think they're normally around there about 8 o'clock. It's still a little
Okay.
chilly at 7, but about 8,
All
9
right.
o'clock, that's when they start running out there. Get
Oh,
that sunshine, get that blood flowing. But yeah, every day they're out there.
all right. Water aerobics Monday through Friday at 10. Water volleyball Monday through Friday 1:30. Zumba with June, Tuesday and Thursday. Cards and games, Tuesday and Thursday. Line dancing, Wednesday. Pool, Wednesday, Thursday, 6:30. The one I have a question about is Jungle Ball, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. What is Jungle Ball?
So Jungle Ball is a variation of water volleyball. But it basically has no rules. You can hit the ball multiple times. You can from what I understand, the only time that the ball is actually dead is when it hits the water or it goes out. But if you want to hit it with your head, you hit it with your head. You want to hit it 3 times before you pass it to somebody else, go for it. You want to kick your foot up, if you can get it up that high, more power to you. You want to use your foot to hit the ball over the net, go for it. Jungle Ball is a fun, silly, let's all have a great time as best as we can, no rules variation of water volleyball.
Okay, now when you say no rules, that does not mean you can hold your opponent underwater while you score, right? That's not part of the game.
Well, I mean, hey, again, there's really no rules, but I don't need to call the authorities to.
Right.
Maybe we do need to have a couple of rules. Okay, there's always got to be that guy, and I guess it's you today, huh, Frank?
I think it is. Well, I'm just trying to think of ways I can be more competitive because if I'm going to play Jungle Ball, I want to play to win.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. Maybe drowning your opponent would probably be a good rule to add.
Yeah, just for safety if people are reading it for the first time, right?
Fair.
All right. And you get a lot of participants for all of these activities because it looks like to me, without mapping it out, you can show up at 7 or 8 in the morning for pickleball and just go strong till well after 7 or 8 o'clock with activities that you've planned out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We do like to try and plan a variety of activities throughout the day. So again, if sports aren't your thing, we also have cards and games. But if you want to participate, you have the opportunity to. There's plenty of stuff to do, plenty of people to enjoy it with, or if you want to do it by yourself, there's that opportunity as well. If you'd rather just lay by the pool, listen to your favorite podcast like you're hopefully doing right now, there's that opportunity as well.
And that should be this show, right?
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, that goes without saying.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to point that out. 1 million activities. You can be busy 25 hours a day, but you can also relax, kick back, and do absolutely nothing other than take in the sun or go for a walk, right?
Indeed. Yeah, we've got a couple of really nice hiking and walking trails on the property. And so you, again, going back, getting to that connection to nature and just being one with yourself and your surroundings.
Well, out of curiosity, you have a lot going on. I think you said, is that 160 sites plus 100 people live there full time? Do I have the numbers right?
Yeah, 160 sites and about 100 of them are occupied year round full time. Right now we are busy. Winter season is always super busy for us. So out of those 60 sites, we consider them, transient, and those vary from folks that are here from anywhere from 6 months to 6 days. We also have rental units for people that are just kind of passing through and coming in and saying hello, day visitors here and there. But we are in the thick of what we consider our busy season, moving into, a little bit later into this year, spring training out here in Arizona for baseball. If you're a baseball fanatic, we get super busy within the next month or so. Those teams start coming down here and they have a very, very heavy following. A lot of them. We've got folks that have been coming out here, staying with us for upwards of 20 years, for a week every year. And then, they hang out here with us at night, play cards and games, go to potluck, do a little line dancing. And then during the day, they head on down into town and watch all the spring training games, grab a bite to eat, and then come on back up here for the evening. So looking forward to seeing a lot of our return visitors for that as well. But yeah, again, there's a lot going on, a little bit of everything for everybody.
Well, out of curiosity then, with all of these activities and all of these people, and the roof needs attention and the water needs attention, how many people work at the Shangri La Ranch just on a given day on the average, including yourself and other managing partners, but also employees? How many people are flying around there doing something in terms of work for Shangri La Ranch?
I would say approximately 10.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a pretty full staff. And they're all busy, I'm guessing. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whether it's here in the office or whether it's my maintenance guys out there, like you say, fixing a water leak or making sure the toilet's flush or repairing a roof, anything like that. There's always something. And that's one of those aspects that not a lot of people think about or consider. They think that we're sitting out here. They think that we're out there playing jungle ball all day, every day. Um, not quite true. I gotta
Yeah.
answering the phones in the office, dealing with packages and mail. I mean, Amazon. Listen, it's my opinion that we are single-handedly keeping Amazon in business, but I'm sure there are other folks out there doing their part. But we keep them pretty busy up here too. So sorting all that stuff out and going through all that laundry for all of my rental rooms. That's always a big task every week. So yeah, there's a lot to it, always going on. So running a resort, it's not just sitting, drinking the beer, watching the fire burn. I'll tell you that for nothing.
Yeah, it's like running any business. People tend to forget that because you're in the recreation business, the hospitality business. It's just all fun and games. Well, it is if you're a customer and a visitor. If you're the one running the place, fun and games when you can, but you're working your tail off a lot, right?
You're working your tail off to make sure those fun and games are exactly fun and games. Yeah, 100%.
Now, in the office, it's you and your sister, and your mom works in the office, or not necessarily, or?
Yeah. Yep. It's most of the time it's the three of us. We do have another one of our residents that helps out on the weekends. That way, we get some time off. So, but yeah, there's the three of us here in the office, plus another one on the weekends. And then I've got some housekeeping staff who also ironically run our cafe. They're fantastic. During the week, they clean our rooms. On the weekends, they cook everybody all their food. So that kind of cuts down on some of the staff needs as well. They do a great job, great meals all throughout all the weekends. And then I've got four maintenance guys that run around. One of them, the main one being my dad. So we are genuinely family owned, family operated, with some help here and there, but small, and that's the way we like it. We get the job done, or we like to think we do.
Yeah, well, you do. And again, I've not been there, but I've heard about you long before we got into doing this show. Shangri La Ranch does this, they do that, they do everything. We keep hearing your name. And so obviously you're doing a lot of things really well, because that wouldn't be the case. You don't mention, like McDonald's or a Burger King. If they weren't any good, if they didn't appeal to their customers, we wouldn't hear about them. We hear about them all the time. We hear about you all the time. And all of the work you do there and with AANR West and with the greater AANR for the greater good and all in your community, just amazing work. And it's been great to have you on the show today. Again, CYNDI TENDICK, one of the managing partners of the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona, also the current president for AANR West. And CYNDI TENDICK, go out there and have a great close-free day, even though it's a little bit chilly. And go out there and have a great close-free day. We'll talk again soon.
All right. Sounds good, Frank. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. The very terrific CYNDI TENDICK. She does it all in the world of nudism, clothes-free living for all the right reasons. One of the managing partners of the Shangri La Ranch in Arizona, and also the current president for the West region of the American Association for Nude Recreation. And we thank CYNDI TENDICK for all of her time on these last two shows. And on the next two shows, which will be episodes 85 and 86, we will speak to Mark from France. He writes naturist books under the pen name Stan Muir. He is also the owner, founder, operator of the website nudeandhappy.com. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 84 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, and also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked, Nudist, and Naturist.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.